y'all, it's Lincia on Do What You Love series. On today's episode, I would like to formally introduce myself, the reason behind Do What You Love series, and the journey that's brought me here today. So allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Lincia Smith. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and I've always loved to storytell. From the very beginning, when my mom put me into dance at age 3, I was in company dance, I was in competition dance, I was always in recitals, and I was always on stage. I've always been around production, and I've always loved how everything came together. And so I've always been a performer in some way, shape, or form. From a young age, I wanted to be a dancer. My mother took me to see the Rockettes, and that's what I was gonna be, a Rockette. And I wanted to go to the art school in Nashville. I tried out for dance and voice, and I got in for both. I worked hard to be able to do that, be able to be a performer. And still I wanted more. And so fast forward through that, I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. And I thought kindergarten was the perfect start. That's the foundation, right? Fast forward, I had to declare my major. And I was a nursing major. I said, that's the most selfless job one can do, to help other people, to be better, to feel better physically and mentally, right? And so I remember going to school, and then we were about to, get deep into our major. And I kept getting this small voice within me was saying, you don't even like blood, so how you gonna be a nurse, right? And so I remember going back home for a school break, and I kept praying. I would meditate, what do I want to do? What am I passionate about? I would talk to my parents, I would talk to friends, and I prayed and I let it go. My parents and I have a ritual on Sundays. We watch 60 Minutes. And it's basically a docuseries where they interview people of all walks of life. And I remember watching it that Sunday, and I remember, man, how amazing is it to talk to someone, to hear their story, and to get some inspiration, right? No matter their race, their background, who they are, you're able to connect through a story, right? And that's what I realized I loved. So when I went back to school that semester, I declared my major as a journalism major, broadcast journalism major to be exact. And I got the foundation of storytelling through that on a news aspect. And after graduating, I couldn't find a job to save my life, okay? I was lost, right? I didn't know what direction to take. And I remember talking to my dad, who is my guru, low-key. And I had told him, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. I'm mad that I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. What can I do in Nashville, Tennessee, right? And he was like, well, you know what? That sounds like a personal problem. If you want something, you go after it. And so I went back to school. I studied cinema studies, and I got internships, right? And I remember talking to my advisor, and I remember talking to him. I was like, I want to get an internship at Nashville Film Festival. And I remember him telling me, he said, oh no, Nashville Film Festival only wants Vanderbilt students, Belmont students. And I just remember thinking to myself, I can't wait to tell you I got that internship. I got that internship, and I also worked there for probably 4 or 5 years with the National Film Festival. So one internship led to another. I interned at a weekly TV show. It was like a music countdown show. And I also interned at a post-edit house, right? And that led me to CMA and CMA Festival, CMA Christmas, CMA Award Show, and everything in between. It's kind of full circle moment because one random day I saw my post-edit guys, right? And it was just like a moment of oh my gosh, it's y'all. And from that day on, I was a PA for the post-edit. And so I got to work with producers. I got to work with the director. I got to do quality checks with the editors. It changed my world, basically, from that moment on. So from there on, I was a PA, post-PA. I was a script second. I then started assisting the associate director of the show. Then I started assisting the director of the show. So I was connected to the hip to that person. Within all that, I was learning. Again, I was learning from the executive producer, the director, the script department, the editors, getting gigs through those different departments. And I finally got my first movie. I assisted the executive producer of my first film in Nashville, Tennessee. It was really cool. And I remember talking to him. He asked me, he's like, so what do you exactly want to do? And deep down inside, I knew what I wanted to do, but I was so scared to tell anyone because I didn't want any type of discouragement. I wanted to focus on what I was doing. When I look back on it, I was kind of scared to even acknowledge my dreams and my goals because I just thought they were so just not possible, right? I remember him telling me, you need to know exactly what you want to do. You need to hone into exactly what you want and go for it. And in that moment, I knew I wanted to interview people. I knew I wanted to tell inspirational stories that uplifted people and brought people together. That was my goal, but I didn't know how. Okay. So I was back at CMA again. It was an award show. And I remember being at the award show and I just wanted more. And I remember working with the director at the time and he gave me the advice to just do it. And I was like, well, I'm scared. What if it's bad? He's like, Lynsia, just do it. Who cares? And I was like, what if people make fun of me? Who cares? Just do it and perfect your craft. And I was like, okay, this is a sign. I just need to do it, right? And I come back to terms of like, how am I gonna do it, right? And then at the same time, I get this opportunity to be a full-time assistant. And I mean, this director was a big deal. He traveled the state, the country, the world with different productions. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is a great opportunity for me, right? But then in the back of my mind, I knew it's not what I wanted to do. And I did not want to settle. And so I continued to work these gigs, just getting opportunities to be able to work and just be able to see these amazing productions come together. And then I was kind of down and out, because I was like, man, I want more. Like I want to figure out how I'm going to get my series together, how I'm going to do it. I prayed about it also. I always pray about it and I let it go. And guess what happens? Someone calls me who I worked on a film, my first movie. They call me because we were, discussing our dreams and hopes, right? He told me like a beautiful story of what he wanted to do. And I literally told him like in a sentence, I was like, I want to interview people, right? Again, a protective mechanism because I don't want people to tell me like, girl, you'll never be able to do that, right? And so he calls me out of the blue and says, Lynsia, I have this opportunity to interview people. And you're the only person I've ever met that said they wanted to do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, let me do it. Okay. So the day finally comes, I get to interview people. And guess who the first person is?
Lisa Lang.
So if you don't know who Lisa Lang is, she was on CNN. She had her own docuseries, and her lineup was, Lisa Lang, W. Kamau Bell, and Anthony Bourdain, okay? They got to interview the most amazing people in the world. I'm telling you, this moment just ignited something in me, right? And I don't believe in coincidences. I think everything happens for a reason. Everything is perfectly detailed for your story. The trials, the tribulations, the ups and downs, everything happens to you for a reason, for a purpose. I thought that was, a moment of clarity to continue. So again, how am I going to do this? I don't know how I'm going to do this. So, I still continue working with CMA as freelance and everything in between. I did every gig I could get. Continue to pray, waited. And then finally, I get a call one day. A country music star had gotten in trouble, got caught saying something. It was an uproar in country music because it wasn't enough people of color, right? Especially African-American, Black people in the industry. And guess who gets a call? Me. And I get an interview and I get to work on a weekly TV show. I got to see how segments were created. I got to see how the producers thought of their questions. I got to see how they put together an interview, right? Everything I ever wanted, everything that I needed to develop my series. But my dad always tells me, be careful what you wish for because you might just get it. I reflect over my career and again, I'm so thankful that I'm naive because I just go in thinking, people are going to be nice to you because you're nice to them, right? I experienced some difficulties, right? That made me question myself, question my ability, and it was difficult to navigate. And I continued, I continued to do my best. I continued to move forward because my biggest goal, my biggest dream was to create my own series and figure out how to do it. And that's why I asked God for direction. I asked God for an opportunity, and it literally fell in my lap. Who's to say that you won't experience difficulties, right? That you won't have trials, tribulations, right? Moments that question yourself, but you have to continue. You have to go forth, go forth and try to accomplish your dreams and goals, because that's the only way you're going to gain anything, right? So I worked for that show, and I just had so many amazing opportunities. I got to travel. I got to see different artists, how producers interacted with them, how editors work. I got to see it behind the scenes, and I was helping produce, And, at sometimes, again, I questioned my ability, I questioned my worth, but without that experience, I wouldn't be as confident as I am today. But it was time for change. And finally, after that experience, I said, I'm gonna do it. So I started interviewing my friends and their journeys. We got to discuss their ups and downs and how they were able to achieve their dreams and more. And again, it's a continuous journey, right? It's a journey that's never ending, never stopping, because you continually grow as you get better, as you gain wisdom. That's what Do What You Love series is. It's to inspire and to uplift, to do what you love, to show people that you can do it, that you have the ability, no matter the ups and downs, that you can do it. Okay. Thanks, y'all. Bye.